It's a beautiful midsummer day. You and your best friend are having a great time in a picnic at the park. A wave of cool breeze, fanned by the branches from the surrounding trees, soothes the heat that's from the water reflected from the pond next to you. The children in the distance are laughing and playing on the colorful playground. Suddenly, the UFO flies by, unloads a gigantic straw, extends it into the pond, and it rigorously sucks up all the water. In the blink of an eye, the entire planet is dried up. What would happen to your picnic trip if there's no water left on Earth? How many of you would like to listen to the rest of the story? Oh, sorry. There's actually no the rest of the story. But instead, I'll give you some tips on what to avoid in your introduction and how to open your introduction with a strong, powerful start. So there's a saying, a good beginning is half a success. What I just did was give you an example of a good beginning. It is important for you to immediately grab your audience's attention with the first few words you say, because the first few words will leave your first impression to your audience and may decide if they will decide to listen to the rest of your speech or not. In my example, I started with a beautiful midsummer day and picnic, which actually fits the current season. It's summertime now, and I know it holds some interest in people about picnic, and so everyone's thinking about summer and picnic right now. Besides attention grabbing, your introduction also needs to introduce your topic. It should indicate why the audience should be interested in what you're going to say. Toastmasters tell us not to start a speech with an apology or thank you. My sorry doesn't count, by the way. So don't say something like this. Hi all, I'm sorry that I'm going to give a very boring speech today. It's going to be one of those better speaker series again. Or don't say, thank you, Craig, for the nice introduction. And thank you everybody for coming here and listening to me talk today. That is going to take out the powerful start from your message. So don't do that. Another thing I want to throw in there is avoid focusing on I or my. In other words, don't just talk about yourself. For your icebreaker speech, for example, and some of the typical speeches in Toastmaster is fine. It's perfectly okay to do that. But if you know me well enough, I'm talking about contest speech. If you're in a contest, that's going to be a bit different. I'm going to guarantee you one thing. Your audience don't really care about you as much as they care about themselves. So when you start your speech, talk about them first and say something valuable to them. And then if you need to share a story about yourself, they will be ready to link your story to the valuable point that you're going to make. For example, I started my speech with you and your best friend, not me and my best friend. But by the end of my introduction, I said I will share some introduction technique today with you. Now, we know what to avoid, so let's talk about different opening techniques you can use to create a powerful introduction. The first technique is making a startling statement. For example, according to the National UFO Reporting Center, UFO sightings have been increasingly popping in, with almost 105,000 reported sightings over the past 100 plus years. Right away, the audience are shocked with the high record sighting because seeing a UFO is considered a rare occasion. The next technique is arouse suspense or curiosity. You may want to say something or ask a rhetorical question that people do not have an answer for necessarily, and that will make them lean in and want to listen to what you're going to have to say next. Curiosity is within every single one of us. I'll give you an example. Have you ever seen a piece of grass that's taller than a tree? Here's a picture that I took during my camping trip in Memorial Weekend. You can clearly see that the grass is taller than the tree on this picture. Life is about perspective, and it's dependent on which angle you choose to view from for each situation. In this example, I asked a question that isn't logically true. When I showed you the picture, you realize although the grass does look taller than the tree, you know it's still not true. But the kicker is the last sentence when I told you the main message of my speech, which will, if you look at life from a different angle, you will see life differently. Then the audience realized it doesn't matter if the grass is taller or shorter than the tree, and they're hooked to hear more about what other life story I have to share in my speech. Another technique is tell a story or an anecdote. People love stories because that's how people like to connect. They want to hear what they have in common or different, and they are ready to dive into the story journey to quench their burning curiosity. I'll read an example of a Toastmaster district contest speech by Andrew Lugan that tells a story yet also humorous. 18 months ago, my wife and I traded our condo keys for house keys. We didn't realize a much larger change was coming. Those precious few hours known as free time became yard work. To me, yard work is a lot like being a Toastmaster officer, club officer. I have no clue what I should be doing, yet I'm always busy. And then he went on and talked about home ownership and yard work. There's one thing that I think is also very important, and that is knowing your audiences. As a matter of fact, there's an entire Better Speaker speech just focused on knowing your audience. If you recall the speech that I gave about my fairy tales Toastmaster story and the example I just gave, the speech actually assumed that the audience are Toastmasters because you wouldn't have any idea what CC mean or icebreaker mean if you're not a Toastmaster for my speech, and you would have no idea what a Toastmaster club officer is all about if you're not a Toastmaster. So if your topic is about public speaking, you're pretty much guaranteed that everyone in this room are interested to listen to. Create an inside joke and combo it with a story like Andrew Lugan does. It will give your initial boost to your speech. And the last technique that I'm going to talk about today is start with a quotation. I really like Steve Jobs' speech, so I'll use his quote as an example. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. And after the quote, you tell the audience your own personal message that is connected to the quote. Something like, don't worry about your future. We can't foresee what exactly will happen tomorrow. But if we live our life to the fullest today, eventually we will see the dots in our past connect and form a beautiful circle of life. Something like that. And then you can go on to the main points of your speech. As you can see, there are many ways to start your speech and grab your audience attention. You can start with a strong statement, create suspense or curiosity, ask a rhetorical question, tell a story, or start with a quote. A dynamic beginning is essential for successful speech. A good beginning is half a success. How about the other half of the success? It is everything else in the Better Speaker series. So there are selecting your topic, know your audience, concluding your speech, using body language, as well as some other one that I did not include. But now, I know you can't wait to try all these opening techniques for your introduction for your next speech. So we save this topic for another time. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.